glance of the worker bee tells her sisters where the nectar is. Jack Carey and Tommy Donovan, who live near the town of Clonakilty in West Cork, are old friends. They share a common interest in bees. Smoking the bees helps to pacify the hive. It's high summer and the honey flows at its height.
I will, huh? I will. And what are you going to feed them? Sugar. Sugar? Wheat.
At this time of year, the bees are busiest. Sweet white clover is their haunt. Their wing beats fan the hive to keep it cool and ventilated.
What do you think of that frame of bees now? Yeah, you got a fine frame of bees. You see all look what brood is inside in it. Right on here, the two filled well the pile. Another hive of bees. Another hive of bees. And the same in this look. She must be a very good queen. She must be a young queen. She's here. Yeah, well, a year and all.
They search the frames for queen cells and remove them to ensure that the old queen will remain in the hive and so prevent swarming. This ancient art of beekeeping was developed by medieval monks. One of them likened it to the unhurried, patient work of scribes.
That's it. The bees on west comes. There is there, look. There's the idle drone. Two together? Two together, then we can get it.
The village of Ring, just down the estuary from Clonakilty. A peaceful countryside, dedicated to a saint who was always depicted as a keeper of bees, standing quietly beside her cricheog or skep. A Christianized symbol of fertility, the scholars will tell you. Or was Gobnet, the beekeeper, just another industrious West Cork woman? Clonakilty is a small market town, unlike many another Irish market town, in so much as that it is architecturally very interesting, graced by a lovely late Georgian square. By all accounts, Clonakilty was a depressed town in the middle of the last century when famine took its awful toll. It's a thriving place today. Jack Carey lives on the outskirts of the town.
You can put your hand in anything, but something belong to bees. Something belong to bees in every place you put your hand. You see, you can't be looking for things when you want them.
Jack has always been an ardent supporter of the Irish statesman Eamon de Valera. Jack is over 80, but age and infirmity do not deter this grand old man.
I grow a bit of potatoes, parsnips, carrots, onions, little marrows, blackcurrants, and a bit of cabbage. I don't have hardly to buy a bit. I sell my own cabbage seed. I'm getting old for work now. I take it easy. I take it easy now.
Jack's wife is dead. He has no children and lives with his brother-in-law, Dan Callanan.
You got to see it?
Yes, I did.
Where did you get it?
Nothing.
Were there many in the town?
Oh, there was quite a number.
Was there?
There was a lot of caravans down on Ring Road.
It's going back now.
I'm sure that is getting late in the season. I suppose I better plant the seed now.
had 5 brothers and 1 sister, and they're all gone, only myself. I'm the last of the family. And so I ain't going to stop here either. I'll go away too. I ran on a farm. We had a nice farm of land and about 40 acres. We used to have flax and corn. We'd grow a lot of wheat, fine wheat. We came second in Munster for wheat once. Price for it? About 1914 and that way, before the start of 1914. I was born and reared in Slaveen, 4 or 5 miles from Clonakilty. It is a different thing today, eh? Farming is different altogether today. Then they had a cabbage and a bit, they had a grain of wheat. Or you go into the town buying it, and buying the head of cabbage, and they haven't had a cabbage, not a potato. I left that and I bought this place in the eastern side of Clonakilty parish. A small farm there. And after a few years I got married there. And it was hard to get help or anything. So myself and the missus, we decided that we'd sell it. We sold it. And I built this bungalow here. And here I am anchored. I have it for a keepsake now. I'll look out round where there's wheat growing, and I'll approach the owner, and I'll ask him, would I get a couple of shares? The right pay for it. If the price was, whatever the price be, I'd want it for to make a hive or two. He said, there'll be no money. We'll sit on the straw here. They've got the straw made on themselves. The best straw for making a hive is wheaten straw. And cut your shave, cut it down low, cut it down to the ground, and take it out nice and tidy, and all the ears to one side, the top. Once it's dry, keep it dry, and let the sun shine on it, and let the grain ripen right and the straw mature. In 1 week, you can breed in and keep it inside then. But keep it away from mice or rats, for they cut it up in pieces when you would have it. I guess the bramble at any time of the year, but from November out, is the best time to get them.
Tommy Donovan cuts the brambles for him now.
I won't go across the country gathering briars at all now. I'm too stiff. I get Thomas O'Donnell of Bona. He collects them for me. He's a great neighbour. They're always with me, and he does the job for me, and he brings in the briars to me.
Combine harvested straw is broken by the machine. That's why Jack must get his cut and stooked by hand.
I don't like waste. Anything at all, I don't like waste. I sooner give it away than to give it go waste. When I clip the ear off of the wheat, I give it away to a neighbour for fowl. She keeps some laying hens, and wheat is very good for laying hens. Great for producing eggs. If you had enough for them, you couldn't beat it.
Jack prepares the briars used for binding the straw for the skep. Briars were used for many hundreds of years to secure the heads of weapons to their staffs.
There's no skips here now. There's no one at all of a skip only what I have given around to people there around, to my neighbours or friends. I give them a skip if they wanted it, I'd make one for them. But they get the stuff for me, and I'd make it in, and I give it to them. They're very good people to all the neighbours around. I'm very thankful to them.
Jack's way of making the skep is different to that of traditional sugan or straw rope making, where the straw is twisted with an implement called a thraw hook.
It isn't very difficult at all to make a hive. I didn't do too much looking at to make a hive in my young days, but I see it and I see the way it was shaped and I had no trouble at all in it. As far as I can make out, I made a hive about 65 years ago. If you are a young fella now, a buyer girl, they can make one of them. But I know girls now that are at bees and at hives and they're as well able to manage as boys. But a young fella now, very young, if he made one of them, he'd make another one. He'd get anxious for it. If he'd see a couple of them made, that he'd make one himself. He'd be proud of them and to give him encouragement. And if he could get a few pounds for one of them, then it would be a great good to him. But have great patience in it. You must have patience. And the best time to make a hive always is sitting down there if there's no one inside. Or that you are on your own, or if you are in an outhouse now, making one for a piece of wood or thing. A grand job. A grand job altogether. I never timed how long it would take me to make a skep. I'd make a skep. I'd say, if I started in the morning, I'd have a skep in the evening. I would, by giving my mind to it, I'd have nothing to bother me. I'd have nothing to do, only eat my dinner and go out to work again. I'd make it in a day, all right.
These brambles are a bit green. The sap is still in them, and they're breaking constantly in Jack's hands. Has this craft changed much, I wonder, from those days 1,000 years ago, when an Irish monk mentioned the pleasures of beekeeping in a poem? I have all I want to keep my house, leeks from my garden, and poultry too, and my precious hive of bees.
My father was a great hand at making them. He used to make them and I used to be picking the sap for him, picking the straw. I washed him. No trouble for me make them after that. I used to make very nice ones before, for I had great practice. And my fingers are getting a bit stiff now, but to mould it out right. So it don't be bad either. Hello.
Oh, there, how are you?
Not too bad.
Had a cold all evening, didn't it?
Huh?
It's a cold all evening.
Cold enough outside there. You're not
Very bad, very bad.
Hold down to him.
Good, you're one yourselves?
Not too bad altogether. Pull away. Making one of them always
Oh, yes.
on the ships.
How's it going with you?
They're going all right. Not the money for the swarm.
Can't welcome.
Huh?
Can't welcome for this, that like some light.
They are. And you can put them over. If you want to tell the swarm going to another field, you can throw it on the ditch.
No bother, no
I don't break it a bit.
What the boys do for it?
They are all right, but they're between too young.
Too young, I know.
Yeah, you see, they're not old enough. Yeah, this time of the year, always, the sap is in them and they're growing.
I know, yes, of
And
course.
they see, but the skin is a bit loose in them.
I suppose they'll want another month or two.
Yeah, you get them about What leather in October, next month.
I know, but you could cut it home then and keep them for the come here, would I do it?
I wouldn't.
Tommy was introduced to bees by Jack only recently. He knows more about breeding horses, as he keeps a brood mare.
Oh, the mare wall.
She's good.
Huh?
They're good, dear. They're good, they're good.
Did you sell yet?
No, I never still.
What will she be making? What she make a big price?
I don't know, 6 8 set. If I got
she'll
6
make
8 take
more.
it. She could, but if I got 6 8 take it.
No, you will get more for the me, sir.
Well, I'd be satisfied if I got that. I'd be satisfied enough.
He'll be national winner yet.
It would happen, all right.
Huh?
It all depends on the way they turn out.
The breed is there.
Oh, the breed is there. Breed
You
is
see,
there.
and how bloody well the boiler is like.
Sure, he's had to come in 3 times now already.
Is he?
You're right. He's had to come in 3 times now already. Was he'll catch up 2 with the last one.
He will.
He'll take her 2 I'd say. Well, some more luck to it.
Yeah, yes. I'd say the same thing.
You see, there's no good to be holding on to him either.
Yeah, the bloody bit. And if we got a good price for a horse, if we got a good price for a horse, for a call for a horse, give him the
It
rod.
will be the right man.
You have the man, the nigger.
Oh, he's had to come in 3 times already.
He'll carry this one again.
It was he'll take this one like the last one.
I could tell you exactly nearly when they're going to swarm, if the weather is fine, for I hear the queen boozy inside the hive the night before. She'll kind of I often heard her. I know the music of the swarm.
Jack has planted bushes in his garden specially to attract the bees as they swarm.
It is a great hobby to be making them, and bees above all, they're the biggest hobby in the world. But when you get into them, you couldn't get out of them. To last, I have last about 20 years. 20 years. People are putting bees into both the boxes now.
The cross sticks in the hive are to form a foundation for the bees to build their combs on.
What will I do with the hive?
I'll put the hive in the ground, you know? Put the hive in the ground. Rest it back to
For what?
run the battle.
I should have the board under it.
I don't do it. This is a big swarm.
This is a big quarrel. This is a
I
big
see it
quarrel.
now.
And you were lucky to be able to be a job when it came out.
After the hour, they're going for the rod.
But it wouldn't have better put a winter in now when you have time.
What is?
Huh? You I shove the battle up under them now, so, huh?
Oh, there's the battle here to me.
Yeah, no, it is just under them now.
I'm the 4th generation of them, and I'm working bees with 70 years. I got out of them for about a few years, but I got lonesome for my getting back into them. You see it? I remember the first swarm of bees I put into one of them, into a skep. It was a small swarm, and my father was there, and he said, yes, you see, I was about 8 or 9 years at the time, and he told me, see, you might be at the bees yet, he said. Shake that swarm. They sting me, I said. They all should have thrown your coat up in your head, he said, and they shake them, they don't do a bit here. I cut the hive and I shook my swarm. Sure, he never shook a swarm after. I put every one of them into hives after that. Inside now, right? Yeah? When they'll wait after a bit, they'll stop here outside fanning. And you know how the queen is inside or not?
Unless you're in there.
The queen is inside.
You see when they're standing their wings.
Yeah.
Today, skeps are only used to catch the swarms. The clean, wholesome smell of the straw encourages them to stay.
Very well, no. She's inside all right.
Are you sure she's inside?
Yeah.
Or should they have the staff so?
Yeah, she's inside all right.
Or should they have the staff now so?
Yeah.
Huh? If the queen one decides to do a no swarm,
No.
and you know there's a fine big swarm,
What is?
huh? But they should have it done out in the evening.
A small stone allows the bees to come and go as they please.
Have you been here this year?
They have to wait to the hair, right there. When I get a cut.
What do you do, crab?
Good crab.
Huh?
Good crab if I get it.
What did you cut it?
I cut it. Yeah, tomorrow week.
Now that the swarm is safe in the skep, it will remain there until evening. The bees must be given time to settle down before being introduced to the bar-framed hive. Otherwise they might become restive and fly away.
Do you know spuds yet?
Oh, I did so.
What are they?
Right, fine flows, fine spuds.
Are they?
And the better time for this time of year. Not for this
And
time of
the rain.
year. And the rain.
Did you see any doctor there? How are you feeling?
Not so much good at all. Not so much good at all.
You'll be all right after a week. Grow.
Jack's soda bread is ready for the table. It's time for tea and small talk about the usual country matters: politics, crops, the vagaries of the weather, the price of drink.
No, not about the whiskey.
Yeah, but the whiskey, no. You country is gone out together. Go on now, Tommy. You must come now. Come down there.
As dusk approaches, the bees are introduced to the hive.
Well, they were shit to be now.
Following the enticing smell of old honeycomb, they are swept gently after their queen into their new home.
Everything is right.
You could have.
Huh? The cool right here, eh? The cool right here.
This piece of comb has been made since the bees were put into the skep at lunchtime.
Where's the more up now, anyway?
Bees are very perfect. Inside the hive now, if there's only one pinch of a sap or a bit of a comb that'll fall down, bees will get that and bring it out and throw it away. And they won't throw it in front of the hive, they'll take it away with them. They're the most exact insects I ever knew.
It's now the end of August. Time for gathering the store of honey.
The bees are great, great little creatures too.
I know. To do all that work for nothing.
And then we come and take it, rob them and take it away from them.
Stay it.
We're good to them all the winter.
Oh, they don't do it. But it's anyway.
Yeah. And we give them a nice house. And we don't charge nothing for it.
No, they're not in the rest.
No.
The caps are removed from the cells so that the honey can be spun out from the extractor.
We prepare everything for them in the winter then. All safety precautions.
From today on.
Will you wash you out for the rat and the mouse?
I should we would have 70 pounds, no, that anyway.
No, 70 yeah.
But it should make that.
Yeah?
It should make that. This is 3.
Wouldn't want to make it?
So, but I have to cash to it. The cash to it,
It's a very good hobby.
Interesting.
That is.
What are you?
And a bit of gardening within between.
Oh, yes.
You'll be making home a bubble, yeah?
Det blir så mycket anyway. You make it. So, you want to say it?
No.
I should have enough new bees in the country.
No. No. She look at all the honey that's imported. I see it through the country now. That is a pity that there are more of the young fellas interested in like a job and interested if who has the bees, or if they were, he could have honey enough for the house for the winter for himself, and he could have a jar for the neighbours too. For the goods of this world, they're made for one alone at all. They're made for all. If they were made for one, what were the rest of the world going to do? I love bees, and when I'm working bees outside there in the garden now, but the first thing I'll get is a chair, and sit down in the chair alongside them and let them fly away. I don't mind about that flying. I didn't dread the bees at all, I didn't dread the stings a bit. They're a great pleasure to me in the summertime and the winter time. If they're going well, I'll obviously feed you. They're half my lifetime.